Good morning, it's Reva with Quality Sewing and Vacuum. I'm so glad that you're here joining us today. We are going to have a fun time talking about finishing our quilts and doing so with ruler work. Now, ruler work may be new to a lot of people, but it's really a great way to get more of a precise quilting to your projects, whether it's a small project because you're making a little a little cosmetic bag, or if you're doing a big quilt. So we're going to talk about what you need to really get started doing ruler work. So first thing that you're going to really want to have is some sort of flat surface. So you may have a table like this. This is from Sew Steady, and this is a really nice, great flat surface that we can work with. And what it does is it allows you to move the work all on the surface of this table and not drag on your machine. You know when you set your machine up, you have the arm there and it's kind of in the way. The other thing you might have is a cabinet and have an insert so it's nice and flat here. Now, to help your fabric glide easier on the surface of your fabric is to use one of the ruler work gliders, and that just fixes to your Sew Steady table or to your cabinet, either one, and that just gives, it's like having a slip and slide for your quilting, and you're able to just have the fabric glide over the surface. Okay, let me put this out of the way, and I'm going to put one on the machine here, and this is a little bit of a different style. This one has a grid on it, which is really awesome. This is called the grid glider, and I want you to notice that it has a square cutout on it, which is really awesome because it's going to go around our feed dogs on the machine. So I'm going to pull off my protective backing, which keeps it nice and clean. And then we'll slip this on. And I'm just going to position it right around the feed dogs. And there are alignment lines right on the glider itself, move this out of the way, which line up with the center needle position this way and with the needle position this way. And so then that gives us nice guides to use there. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk to you about is the foot. You will need a ruler work foot. Now this is a ruler foot, and you can see how nice and thick that little barrel is right there. And when you put this onto your machine, you put it on, you take your ankle off, and then you screw this into place, and then you can use this foot. Now, a darning foot that comes with your machine, it's nice and thin. This one is very thick, and the reason why is it's designed for the rulers to run up against, so that way the machine is protected from the ruler getting under the needle, and it just keeps it from going someplace else. Now, ruler work rulers are thicker than a standard ruler. Let me show you. You don't want to use a standard cutting ruler, because when you're doing your free motion or your ruler work, if your foot moves at all, you could slide the ruler underneath your foot, and then it would get in the needle. It'd break your ruler, and it would break your needle, and it might put your machine out of time. So that's no fun at all. Now, if you have a machine that the brand has a ruler work foot, that is great. If it does not, you can get a generic style one that is meant to fit your machine, and Westerly makes those for all different machines, and then you can just put that on your machine. Okay, so that's really awesome to have. But let's take a look at doing ruler work. I have kind of mapped out a little piece here for us to practice. The purple is signifying, see my squares here, this is like a quilt square, and then I've just cross-hatched just to have a marking there for reference when we're doing a few things here coming up. But let's just start with some basics of ruler work. And I'm going to move those out of the way, and this is just a basic ruler that Westerly makes. It's the 12-inch arc. It has a straight side and then it has a curved side. So I am going to go in and I've set my machine up for free motion, and I did that just by simply touching the free motion section and saying free motion ruler foot, because that's what I'm using. And this machine has already set the feed dogs down and has everything ready to go for me. Now, the one thing to also know is that when you're working with ruler work, it's best to work with the needle down option activated, and I will do that in just a moment. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am going to stitch around this bottom square. When you're doing your quilting, it's great to stitch off your main sections, so that way it keeps everything laying flat and you don't get as much as the rippling that you might see. So I'm going to start here at this little intersection. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab on to my needle thread, and I'm going to put my foot down so I can kind of see a little bit better, and I'm going to put my needle down and then my needle back up, and that takes one stitch, and then we can pull, and now I have my bobbin thread and my needle thread gathered into my hand. So what I want to do now is put my foot down, and notice that I have it moves very, very easily because the foot does not actually go all the way down to the surface of my fabric. It stays nice and just kind of hovers right above it. So I'm going to take just a few little stitches to lock in my threads, and then I want to put my needle down and have that feature activated on. Now, one of the reasons why we do that is because when we stop to regroup, which it's perfectly fine to do, that way your needle stays right on the path. And that's important. Okay, so now another thing to know about a ruler work foot is that this outer edge of the foot is a 1/4 inch away from the needle. So when you put your ruler up against the foot, it is a 1/4 inch from the needle. Now down at this end, I want to make sure that my ruler stays a 1/4 inch all the way along. So you can use a little gauge that Westerly makes, and you can just set that right here at the edge to make sure that it's positioned a 1/4 inch. When you're holding your ruler, you want to hold a couple of fingers on and some off, because you need to hold on to the fabric as well. You might want to use quilting gloves like machine gers. That makes life really easy. I've turned the speed down on the machine because you don't need to go fast. You just need to be consistent. So I'm just going to plug away and get down here to the end. And the corner is really awesome. I think you're going to love the corner. So I'm going to slow down because I'm getting there. And I'm going to stop with my needle down. Now, when you're working with rulers, you don't need to rotate your fabric. You're just going to change direction because you don't have to worry about the feed dogs. So I've set my ruler right where it needs to go. And then I'm going to take my gauge and make sure it's set where it needs to be there. And now I'm going to put my hands both on the ruler and on the fabric, and we're going to go to the side. Now I did mark this with a friction pen, which will go off with the heat of an iron, but depending on what you're working on, you might want to use chalk. Like if I'm doing black fabric, I want to use a light colored chalk. Or you might want to use a water or an air erasable pen. Okay, so I have that one in place. So now we can go back this way, and I need to just make sure I'm a 1/4 inch away from that one. And now again, I'm going to have hands on the ruler and off the ruler so it stays right where I need it to go. And you don't have to go really fast with rulers. You just want to keep at a consistent pace so that way your machine stitches are about the same length for all your stitches. If you have a machine that has stitch regulation on it, that's even better. Okay, so this corner up here in the upper right, I can trim those threads right on off now that I've come around, and I'll set that. And let me just make sure I'm the right distance away. I am. And so then we're going to go and close off our box. Now with the ruler like this, you're able to do more than just straight lines, but there's a lot of straight lines in quilting and in ruler work. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is take a couple of stitches right in that spot, and I'm going to raise my needle up, and I'm going to pull away from where I was stitching. Now we'll do needle down, needle up, and give it a pull, and here's my bobbin thread right here, so we can just trim that right off, and now we don't have any tails at the back. You can also leave the tail long, and you can use a needle and thread the tails into the layers of your quilt if you want to. Okay, so now let's take a look at other things that this ruler can do, which I don't know how well you can see that because of it being clear, but we have the straight edge here, and we also have straight edges or lines that are perpendicular or parallel to this edge, and they're 1/4 inch from each other. Then we also have an arc, and the arc has lines that are parallel to it at 1/4 inch apart. You also have center markings and other markings on there. So I'm going to line up this center mark with my turquoise line here, and we're going to make some arced lines. And I'm going to come in here, and let me just get my thread pulled up, and I'm going to put my needle down and up, and we'll pull that out. So now I have both my needle and my bobbin thread. Okay, needle down activated, and I'm going to line this right up. My line is going right through my turquoise line, hands on both sides. And one thing about the ruler work is when you have everything positioned and you have your hands as they should be, it should not be stressful, and you should not be stressing up your shoulders. Okay, I want to make a 1/4 inch parallel line to that, so I'm going to walk up this outer line. We've already quilted it, so you'll never see the stitches because we already have stitches there. So I'm just going to slowly walk up over the top, and then I'm going to line up this top line that's underneath the edge. I'm going to line that up with the stitches that we've already done, and I line my center line again with the center of the diagonal, and we're going to come back to the other side. So this is just really, really simple. Okay, now let's walk up the other side because we want to get some stitches going. We want another arc to go. So we're going to bring that up. Oh, I need a couple more stitches. I'm not quite far enough. Okay, there we are. Now I'm going to work my way across back the other direction. So as you can see, this is really not overly involved. It just takes a relaxed attitude and a little bit of practice. And if you set yourself up right with the right tools, whether it be the specific ruler that you want to use or the quilting gloves, and of course you want to use a quilting needle. Now a quilting needle has a slimmer shaft, so it's designed to go through the fluffy layers of a quilt, and it also has more of a tapered point. So it's going to do the best for you. And the folks at Schmetz suggest that you use a size 90 quilting needle for doing your actual quilting, because you are going through all those layers of fluff. And so it's just a nice ruler, a nice size of needle to use. You can also use a quilting needle for doing piecing, but maybe that for just piecing your layers of fabric, maybe you want to do an 80 or a 75/11. So just whichever works best for you. And that's really what sewing is all about. It's what works for you, because what works for one person may not work as well for someone else. So, okay, I went a little bit far, so I'm going to come back down a couple of stitches, and now we can take our turn. And up, I'm pushing too hard. I've got too close. You want to make sure you don't push your ruler out of position. Okay, and we'll do one more with this, and then I'll show you something else that you can do with it. Okay, we'll walk our way up. So even though this is a really simple ruler, this is a good one, and it's in the starter kit from Westerly. So it's a good one to have because it does all sorts of different things. Since you can do square or straight lines, and then you can do curves, it works really well. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I don't want to cut the thread at this point. I'm just going to go ahead and walk my way up to the corner here real quick, and then I'll show you what I've gotten done. The whole idea when you're doing your ruler work or free motion is you really don't want to have breaks in the thread because that causes, well, a knot, and you don't want that. So hopefully you can see the little arcs that we just made really simply. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I want to show you how to make a curved pattern on our diagonal line, and we're going to do this to kind of make kind of a flowery point. So I'm going to lay my ruler along the straight line here. So we're going to arc up over that line, and then we'll come back under it and make little petals on our line. So I'm going to line this up, and I just want to make sure that I'm a 1/4 inch away from the corner, which I am. And let's make sure I get my hands on here properly this time so I don't slide the ruler out. You'll find that when you're doing things like circles, when you get to a certain curve, like you're coming back around the circle, you may find yourself that you go out of orbit a little bit. That just is the way it happens. And then I want to do one on this side as well. And as you get into it, you'll be able to line things up and not have to measure as much. But, you know, I'm going to double check myself, make sure that I'm doing what I need to do. Now, I'm definitely not an expert at ruler work or quilting for that matter. However, this is so easy to do. Anyone, if you put your mind to it and you just practice a little bit, you should be able to do it very well. So we're just going to go back on the other side. The other thing to know about when you're working with rulers is that you will be able to, oh, I should have measured. I didn't measure. You will be able to put your ruler behind your work as well, because that's what the foot does. The foot has that little the guide on it, so it makes it really easy to come back and work from all sides of your project. So let's go ahead, and I am going to go ahead and cut my thread, and I am going to cut my thread with my scissors, not with the thread cutter on the machine. If you use the thread cutter on the machine, you're going to end up having it be really short threads, and then I'm going to just rotate it. You don't need to do it if you're working on this on a real project. You really don't need to rotate your fabric, but I'm going to just so I can get here and show you real quick how to do this. Okay, so we have it in the center, and I'm going to down and up, and I'm going to pull that thread out. Let's pull that bobbin thread up. Okay. And doing this little design actually works out really easy if you do one side, you go here, and then you do the bottom side going this direction. I'll show you how that works really quick, because then you have a continuous smooth line, and it's not, it's a continuous smooth line, and you don't have a weird angle. You just go from one line to another. Okay, there's that one. Then you just come back, and we're going to do this one, and then we'll do the other side, and we'll have him done. So I hope you can see how easy it is to do quilting with rulers. So don't be afraid of it, that's for sure. You want to be able to have fun and get your projects done. So we'll just do one more here. There we go. All right, pull it out. come back. And there is our thread, and we've got it done. Okay, so let's take a look at what we've done here. So on our little piece, we have quilted our square. We did our foundation quilting. So whether you're going to quilt free motion, you're still going to want to quilt around your pieces to make sure that everything is flat and your quilt has the bones it needs so it can lay flat and stay the right size. And then you can also use the shapes. And in fact, if you have any fun stuff you want to do, they make rulers in all sorts of different shapes. So should you be located near our Tukwila store, we do have some on clearance here, which is really awesome. And we do have classes in our store. I haven't personally looked at our listing lately to see what is offered in each store, but different stores have different things, and then that will work. And Denise says that she likes to use an 80-12 for quilting, so that's good. So that would be for piecing, right? So that's awesome. Okay, so I hope that helps. I want you to have fun, and we have all those wonderful projects that we have that are needing to get finished. So this is a really easy way to have them look good. I don't know about you, but it always stressed me out to try to do quilting because I was afraid I would have to unsew everything. The real way to make sure you don't have to do that is to take your time and not rush. I know if you were like me, you may have learned that if you're doing free motion quilting, the machine needs to run as fast as it can and then you move your hands to keep up with it. And that's really not the case. Keep your machine running at a consistent pace that you can stitch and keep up with, and you will have a great time and it will turn out great. So enjoy that, and I look forward to seeing you the next time on our How Do I?